In the early 2000s, as I embraced Pentecostalism, I delved into the intriguing realm of spiritual warfare intrinsic to the Christian faith. Raised in a tumultuous environment with narcissistic parents and multifaceted challenges, the notion of spiritual warfare captivated me. Finally, I found a means to actively address my adversities with the assistance of God, shedding my passive approach to life's struggles. I soon realized there were about as many different opinions on spiritual warfare as there were denominations. It was only a short time before I had stacks of books or YouTube videos telling me how to do warfare, and they all disagreed. I quickly struggled to find the right way to do spiritual warfare. With many books and YouTube videos on spiritual warfare that all seem to have conflicting perspectives, it's perplexing how such disparities arise when we have only one Bible as the primary reference source. I found myself trapped in a perplexing array of how-to books on spiritual warfare, each promising a solution to my struggles. Despite my relentless pursuit, none seemed to deliver the transformation I sought. Ultimately, I consented to the prevailing Christian perspective that ensuring my salvation guaranteed my place in heaven, and all that remained was to patiently await death or the rapture while endeavoring to live purposefully in the interim. Despite repeatedly being told that the Torah, the first 5 books of Moses, did not apply to me as a Christian, my love for the covenant continued to grow stronger. I couldn't ignore the profound correlation between my deepening love for the covenant and the increasing success I experienced in spiritual warfare. However, I could not ignore that my understanding of spiritual warfare had also changed. Based on my experiences as a mainstream Pentecostal, I held the belief that spiritual warfare entailed a grand struggle between two almost evenly matched powers: God, Jesus, and the devil. It was a common understanding that the devil and his demons could exert significant influence over anyone they chose. Nevertheless, we were convinced those saved and filled with the Holy Ghost could actively participate in spiritual warfare. We drew upon the strength of the Holy Ghost within us to triumph over and dominate the devil. The concept of overcoming and overpowering the devil was always perceived as achieving total freedom from life's problems and challenges. I've always found the idea of being able to consistently conquer the challenges posed by the devil to be intriguing, almost like a concept straight out of the pages of a biblical narrative. However, this promise remained beyond my grasp, as I had never personally witnessed someone who could unequivocally demonstrate this ability. This became an increasingly personal matter for me as I continued to grapple with the ongoing struggles presented by my narcissistic parents and the complex web of issues that came with it. Despite pouring my heart into prayers and engaging in deep spiritual introspection and warfare, nothing seemed to change. I couldn't help but question if I was somehow missing an important detail or if there was a specific methodology for spiritual warfare that had eluded me. I found inspiration in a poignant encounter with a Chinese pastor during his visit to a Western Christian bookstore. He reflected on the multitude of books available, contrasting it with his community's sole reliance on the Bible. His words struck a chord, prompting me to make a conscious choice. I decided to eschew secondary interpretations and seek my understanding by directly delving into the Bible's pages. The first thing I saw was James chapter 2 verse 19, "You believe that there is one God." Good. Even the demons believe that, and shudder. I was taught to read James chapter 2 verse 19 this way. Proclaims that not only do demons know that the Lord is the one true God, but they also shudder in fear at the knowledge of this infallible truth. I was also taught that the Lord equals Jesus Christ. So, for many years, I believed James chapter 2 verse 19 said, "You believe in Jesus." Good. Even the demons believe in Jesus and shudder. After all, Jesus is God's Son, so he is God, so it is only logical. James chapter 2 verse 19 has to say, "You believe in Jesus." Good. Even the demons believe in Jesus and shudder. Is it not? I couldn't shake off the thought that James chapter 2 verse 19 highlighted the unity of God. Why do the demons shudder because God is one? Then it struck me. When asked about the greatest commandment, Jesus emphasizes the oneness of God, and Deuteronomy also stresses God's oneness. It suddenly occurred to me that James isn't addressing me, a Norwegian Christian living in the heavily influenced Greek Hellenistic culture of the 21st century. He is writing to Hebraic Christians when they only had the Old Testament. A Hebraic Christian would immediately recognize the context of James's discussion, such as the Shema from Deuteronomy. Therefore, what makes the demons tremble is not Jesus or the cross but the Shema. What is the Shema? The Shema starts with, "Hear Israel and obey our God Jehovah, who is one." Then, it describes the terms of the Mosaic covenant, so James is saying here that the Mosaic covenant makes demons shudder. I was reading about how spiritual warfare was conducted in the Old Testament, and in the OT, spiritual warfare mainly involved following the terms of the covenant. It meant not knowing how a problematic situation would turn out but trusting Jehovah always to save them from their predicament, no matter what. This aligns with what Jesus speaks of in Matt 6:25-34, not worrying, but living by the covenant and trusting Jehovah to fulfill his part of the covenant by meeting all your needs. This was very different from what I was used to, but it worked. From my experience, I know that Jehovah is faithful to the covenant and he has always met my needs. Most of the time, he does not tell me what will happen, just like he did with Moses. He expects me to do my part, live by the covenant, and trust that he will do his part. It never happens when or how I want it to, but I have never had a reason to complain about how he does things and the timing of his actions.